Yo, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to talk about CRV and why I think CRV is going to $10 plus. And I'm going to show you guys my reasons why I think it's going to go there, right? For multiple different reasons. We're going to talk about CRV, USD, CRV Bitcoin, and we will also take a look at my reasons why I'm bullish on CRV, all right? In particular, all right? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you smack up that like button and let's get it. So obviously over the last couple of days, we've seen altcoins, Bitcoin get a little bit of a pullback into the Trump inauguration. Now, we know that Trump inauguration is coming up on January 20th, so I could expect some volatility for the next 10 days. But nevertheless, I think what we're looking at here, and I just want to start out with, my general thoughts on the markets is a little bit of a liquidity game, right? So I think what we're seeing around the board is you guys can see the coins that are showing strength, right? The coins that are holding up the best during this little bit of a downturn into January, which is not that abnormal if you look at the cycles. Usually Christmas time, beginning of January can be a little bit iffy in the markets, right? It's totally normal. We've seen it in 2021. We've seen it in 2017. It's totally normal. But when we look at the coins that are holding up the best, what you'll notice is it's the utility coins. When you look at coins like CRV, right, really maintaining their December lows, right? When you look at coins like XRP, maintaining the lows. When you look at coins like Chainlink, right, really maintaining high levels despite Bitcoin pulling back. You guys can see which coins are the strong coins, right? And the coins that are not strong right now, and you guys can hate on me for not, it's very clear, right? Meme coins are getting absolutely destroyed right now, okay? The Solana memes are getting absolutely destroyed with Popcat, all these ones getting absolutely dumped on right now. And I think it's showing what's going to be strong going into 2025, okay? And I've made this very, very clear that I am really, really bullish on the utility coins, all right? And that leads me into CRV. Now, we've talked about Crow, we've talked about Chainlink, we'll probably talk about XRP coming up, another one that I'm bullish on going into this year simply because of Trump coming into office, being the first pro-crypto president. But let's specifically go into CRV here. So that's kind of my backstory. I think memes are going to take a back seat. A lot of that meme coin money is going to flow into utility coins, and that's going to be why these things go up, because so many people are so invested into the memes and very not invested into utility coins, right? As we go into the first pro-crypto administration, all right? So let's jump on into CRV now that we have the backstory of why I'm bullish on utility coins. CRV, right? Great utility, right? I think there's a narrative that's going to come behind DeFi this year, right? Real world assets, DeFi, a lot of these things are going to blow up. And CRV is one of my main holdings that I was very, very bullish on vocally down here in the 30 cents region. And it's one of my bigger holdings. It's been one of my best gainers in the last few months. And I think it's going to continue, right? So full disclosure, I am in this one from the lows, but I think it's going very, very, very much higher, or much higher, I guess I should say. And if we just look at the reason why, let's look at the chart, okay? So obviously, I think what we have is our typical Wyckoff accumulation schematic. So if you guys don't know the Wyckoff, it's when we have a set of lows, whether it's 2 or 3 lows that were formed over a very long period of time, right? And then we have a false breakdown, which a lot of retail ends up selling and calling the coin dead. And if you guys remember, this is when the CEO got liquidated for his coins. A lot of people calling CRV dead. And then boom, it comes up and it does like a 10x from the lows. All right. And that's typically how it works is retail falls for the FUD. They don't buy the lows and they don't even buy the reclaim. Right. And then, the rest is history. But I think we have our typical Wyckoff pattern here. And what this is the false breakdown of the lows and the spring phase out. And I just believe this is the spring phase before we're going to see much, much higher prices. My assumption is that we're going to hit these levels. These are a lot of my take profit levels for the cycle. My first take profit level was 130, which was this previous high. I just deleted it from the chart because we already hit it. But we already hit my first take profit. These are going to be my take profits as we kind of go along here, which is $3, $6.78. $11 and so on. You might think these are crazy and ridiculous. I don't think these are going to be too crazy for this year. Now, keep in mind, I already did hit my TP1. So, but my assumptions are these utility coins are going to explode, as I think this is just one giant Wyckoff accumulation schematic that started all the way back in September of 2020. So we're talking about a 5-year structure here. This is not a small structure. This is a 5-year accumulation structure, market manipulation, right? Market maker structure of breaking down the lows, reclaiming back above, right? And then really going for not just hitting the all-time high, but actually breaking through all-time highs. All right, so my targets here, and I've said $10 plus. My minimum target, I think, is 678, which is the previous all-time high for CRV. And CRV is not as clear on the Bitcoin chart as it is on some other ones. But just kind of going back into this before we go into the curve Bitcoin chart, could we go a little bit lower in the short term? Yes. Obviously, there's a little bit of weakness on the stock markets, a little bit of weakness for Bitcoin. Could we go a little bit lower in the short term? Yes. I think that's fine if we do, and honestly, it is what it is. But I think if you have the patience, I think we're going to see much higher prices in 2025 across utility coins. Just simply looking at the charts, I think this is set up for a run to its previous all-time high. CRV Bitcoin, not as clear as some of the other ones we looked at, right? So we've looked at Chainlink, right, being in clear Wyckoff accumulation on the in the Link Bitcoin pair. We've looked at Crow, Crypto.com being in the clear Wyckoff on the Crow Bitcoin pair. CRV is not as clear on the Bitcoin pair, just because we've had such a big downtrend on this. But I think that means that we have much more to catch up on this going into what I think is going to be, like I said, a crazy 2025 for utility coins. As a lot of them are, I still think, undervalued based on memes pumping in 2023, 2024, and some of these kind of taking a back seat just until a couple months ago. So my assumption is, obviously we have this big level coming up here, which is like a 200% move on CRV Bitcoin, which would be like 0.26, which I think is kind of funny because if we saw a 200% move on CRV, USD, that would put us, right, almost, assuming Bitcoin also moves up within the next, few weeks as well, would put us, somewhere around this $3, which is also a big resistance. I think that's kind of funny. But ultimately, I think what happens is over the course of time, and if I'm correct about the utility coin bull run being in 2025, I think CRV Bitcoin goes to its previous January 2020 or December 2021 highs, right, which would be about a 1,600% move against Bitcoin, which if we did our typical game and saying that, assuming Bitcoin does not move, which I do believe Bitcoin is still going to go higher here, 1,600% move against Bitcoin, assuming Bitcoin didn't move, would put CRV somewhere around $13.79, but I also think Bitcoin's going higher. So, ultimately, it's kind of where we're at, right? We have our Fibonacci targets, right? We have our first impulse off the lows. I think this is just our first cool-off period or our wave 2, right? As we break out of our previous lows. And I think it's just a patience game at this point, right? As we know typically, and if we're just going to go into the typical, cycles argument, we know that typically January to May is good for altcoins in the post-election years, right? January can be a little bit iffy for Bitcoin, which might make altcoins a little bit iffy. But generally, January to May has been bullish for altcoins in the previous cycles. 2017, January to May was bullish, right? 2021, January to May was bullish. And it really was, being altcoins going into January. And when you get close to May, make sure, remember sell in May and go away, as I have marked off here on the others chart. But, all in all, I'm gonna continue to go through the coins that I'm bullish on. Like I said, we've talked about Chainlink, we've talked about Crypto.com or Kronos, it's called now. We've talked about CRV and another Wyckoff accumulation, and there's going to be many coins with these Wyckoff accumulation structures that I believe have just started and are just getting the first cool-off period. Where if you're patient, you're going to get significantly higher prices in 2025, but only for the patient. All right, so. All in all, we could talk about some other things like Bitcoin dominance in this video, but I'm not going to go into it too deep into this video. And, we're about to get the death cross on Bitcoin dominance and why that could be good for altcoins in general. But nevertheless, I want to stick to mainly CRV today and some of the targets that I have and why I have some of those targets and just the general structure on these. But overall, once again, we zoom in onto this, we look at where we're at. We look at how we had this really giant range form for such a long, significant time for CRV. Right, this was almost a 3-year range, right, in this period where we broke out. We just got the retest. Could we retest again? Maybe if Bitcoin wants to go a little bit lower, I wouldn't be surprised in the short term. But nevertheless, I am looking for this to continue up, all right, eventually to our $3 target, and I believe much higher than that. Eventually, not right away. And overall, this just being one big 5-year Wyckoff schematic with a little bit of a mini one inside, right? A little bit of a mini Wyckoff inside the giant 5-year Wyckoff, all right? So that's the CRV video today, guys. If you did enjoy, I'm going to be making more of these videos. I think you guys might be seeing maybe an XRP one coming up, and basically some of the other tech coins that I think have these Wyckoff accumulation structures, either on the Bitcoin pairs or on the USD pairs, that I think are set up for beautiful 2025s if you can weather the short-term chop and the short-term price action over here as Bitcoin tries to find its footing or its lows in this January pullback. All right, so I'm out of here, guys. Peace out. See you in the next one. Later. Subscribe if you're new, by the way. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe. All right, peace.